Hey everybody, welcome to another Lunchtime Live. It is Wednesday and as you can see we're outside. Oh my goodness, it's a beautiful day. So welcome to Morges Mansions. Wednesday is going to be all about Wednesday Wows. So with the Lunchtime Lives going forward, hey everyone joining in. With the Lunchtime Lives going forward, on a Wednesday we're going to very much be talking about those kind of interior design, home decoration type ideas. We are all at the minute, not without exception, obviously, frontline people going out, and there are some people out at work, but very, very many of us are trapped at home. So we're in our houses, we're drumming our fingers, we're juggling crisis management of work, working from home, homeschooling. But you know, in those times when we're actually having a bit of downtime and we can't go out, we are looking at our four walls and we're looking at our bedrooms and our living rooms and our kitchens, and we're kind of wondering about all of those things that we might do. Whether it's now, whether you've got some paint in the garage and you've got some wallpaper leaned up against the wall and you're gonna do that now, or whether you are going to start planning for the future. The one thing that we've got at the minute is time, isn't it, to start thinking about all those interior design projects at home. So on a Wednesday, and look at me, I'm getting really organised. I've even made some notes. So I don't run out of things to say. I mean, I don't often run out of things to say, do I? Witter it away, but I have made some notes on this one. What we're going to mainly focus on the Wednesday Wows is inspiration, paints, wallpapers. We're going to talk about trends, we're going to talk about finding your core style, and we're going to talk about red threads. And actually these are the things that when we have the How to Renovate Day here and when we do the salvage days, we do talk about this kind of stuff. So we talk about inspiration and trends and how to filter your way through and core style and all of that, because often when I do interior design jobs with clients, these are the things that people really struggle with. So navigating your way through all the inspiration and all of that other things that people do struggle with. So I'm going to just talk through those kind of 6 little topics, and then going forward in future weeks we'll zone in and we'll focus on the individual ones, and we'll do practical demonstrations and talk about things that we've done here. So when you're sitting at home and you're faced with your house and how you plan stuff and what you decide to do, how do you avoid making those How do you avoid making those mistakes and deciding what to do? Okay, first up, inspiration. Where do you find it? Well, obviously now, where do we all find it? We look online, and when we're trapped at home, did you see that, Zoe? Just that fell off. When we're trapped at home, where do we look? And we're going to look online. God help us if the internet goes off, hey? God help us all. We're looking on Instagram, and we're looking on Pinterest, and we're looking on design websites, and we go to our favourite designers and we look at the stuff that they see. Not only the stuff that they've done, so design schemes that they've done, but also the stuff that they're looking at and little nuggets of inspiration that they're posting. And that's where we all look. I mean, the one thing that we've got is time. And what time allows us to do is to actually filter through. So we're constantly scrolling, aren't we? And we're constantly looking at inspiration. But quite often what we don't have is the time to actually filter through it. It's a very loud car. I don't know what it is. Lawnmower, hey ho, we're live. What we don't have is the time to filter through it all, and to look for those images and that inspiration that really speaks to us. So quite often you scroll through and all inspiration looks good, looks great, doesn't it? But the way to have a successful home scheme, and the way to really nail your house, is to look at all that inspiration and really drill down into the stuff that really speaks to you. So it's the time now, isn't it, to get that mood board done, whether it's a virtual mood board or an actual mood board, and realise it. We're all juggling stuff, but we do have that time because we're not going out. It's about actively processing and filtering. And quite often when people start home renovation projects, what I find is they've spent months looking at inspiration, but they've never actually drilled down and realised it and honed it down. So now's that time. It's not just about all online as well. I tell this story when I do home renovation talks and when I do design talks at shows. I was once doing a TV show and with a couple, and we really couldn't decide, and they couldn't decide what their style was, and we were really struggling one day to work out how to progress. And actually what we did, I was in their bathroom and it had just been ripped out, and as we stood there was a little copper pipe in the corner, and some water had escaped from the top of the copper pipe and dribbled down, and it created the most beautiful verdigris green on the copper pipe. And as we were standing there, the homeowner just said to me, "Gosh, isn't that beautiful, that colour? Isn't that absolutely gorgeous?" And guess what? The scheme was born, the whole thing was born from one scratty bit of copper pipe which had oxidised in the corner of the room. So don't feel, that you have to endlessly go online. Sometimes you can look around you and find something that really speaks to you, and that can be the basis for your whole scheme. So we're going to cover inspiration and how to find it. We're going to talk about that as the weeks go on. We're going to focus on paint, and what I'm going to actually do now as well, we're going to get up and move. So I am going to have to sit down in a minute and plug in. But one of the things we're going to do is look at paint ideas and also successes and mistakes. So I spoke about this yesterday. Can you see that? This is a mistake we've made here at Morgeous Mansions. I didn't properly prep the pine there, so it's popped and I've had to sand off where the knots are, and I'll have to do that again. So, talk about, as the weeks go by, the mistakes that we've made here and how you can avoid them. We'll also talk about successes. So things like, let's turn you around here, paint. Things like in the living room, we've gone dark with the ceiling. So it's actually doesn't come out, it looks a bit bluey, doesn't it? But it's a really deep green. So this was something that Mr. Morgeous was like, "Oh my God, what are you doing? Are you mad?" And I was determined, and that's worked really well. However, there were issues with the paint. Hang on, turn you around. There were issues with the paint, and hang on one sec. Just plugging in. I'm going to have to give my phone a little bit of a charge in between times. One sec. Yeah, there were a little bit of issues with that paint. We used a Valspar paint, and although Valspar is very affordable, some of their greens took us like 6 coats to do the coving. So I'm going to give you my top tips as we go through the weeks on what to use, where to use it in terms of paint. What else are we going to talk about? Oh, we're going to talk about wallpaper. So actually, I'll turn you back round. Can you see? So in our living room, we've used this beautiful wallpaper there. And actually, hang on a minute. I'll just unplug for 2 seconds. We're going to give you lots of tips on how to use wallpaper. This is an expensive wallpaper. I'm a bit of a sucker for expensive wallpaper, but I do use cheap as well. And I'm going to whiz upstairs and show you that. So this was an idea we had where we ran out of the paper. And I've actually pixelated it. So what we're going to do, again, I'm going to do little mini workshops as the weeks go by on ideas, if you're going to use a really expensive wallpaper, where to use it and how to use it. And also the difference and how to hang it. Because people think that you always have to get a decorator in. I spent years paying a decorator to do wallpaper. And then I thought, what am I doing? And I had a go. And it was a doddle. Well, it wasn't a doddle, but it can be done. It's not rocket science. It's not that difficult. So actually, we're going to do some practicals and show you how to use the wallpaper. Right, let's go upstairs because I'll show you, one sec. So talking of wallpaper, just very, very quickly, hang on. You can see this. So what you'll find as well is once you get your confidence with wallpaper and once you've done one little bit, then you go a bit mad with it. See, this is just regular striped wallpaper. There you can see it, regular striped wallpaper. I'm going to carry on here, but I've put it in different directions. So, once you get your confidence, you can go a little bit bonkers with it, just like I did in our bathroom. That was another one that Mr. Morgeous said, where Mr. Morgeous said, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" And I was like, I'm going to wallpaper the bathroom ceiling. Hang on. I'm going to wallpaper the bathroom ceiling. And he thought I was insane. But it's worked really well. And it's one of those things where with wallpaper, if you have a go for the first time and you nail it, don't use an expensive wallpaper first time. But if you have a go, then you'll get good and then you'll get brave. So, hang on, let's get my little sheet. One of the other things that we're going to cover, just let me plug my phone in, because I was a very stupid vlogger and I didn't charge my phone properly before we started. 1 second, hang on. There we go. One of the other things that we're going to talk about are trends as well. I have made some notes on trends, but I could just witcher on about these forever, because I love it. I love linking in and covering trends, and I love going to the trade shows, etc. But what you've got to treat trends as, and again, we're going to do some live workshops on the current trends and how to dip in and out of them. Hi Norma. Is with a trend, you've got to treat it as inspiration, not an instruction. Trends are not instructional. What you've got to remember with them is that somebody somewhere is trying to sell you something. Okay? So as we are in our houses and we, a lot of us aren't working, a lot of us have had our incomes cut, but we are looking at our homes and seeing what we can do. We also have to be mindful that when we make these changes to our houses, we don't want them just to be trend-led and then get bored of them in another 4 months or 6 months, or feel like they're not on trend anymore, and have to change them, because we're not going to have the money to do that, are we? It's okay if you are a super rich person with loads of money who can afford to change their house every year or whatever, or if you're an influencer who's getting sent loads of stuff for free, and style influencers and home influencers do, and that's great. They're there to inspire us, but it's hard, isn't it? I think people have become a little bit too trend-led, and you have to, moving on to the next thing, which is another thing we're going to do a bit of a workshop on, finding your core style. So we are in the right room. Actually, I've had a look. I made a couple of notes of what we're going to talk about on the Wednesday workshops and how to kind of explain them in the house. Finding your core style. So this is the way, isn't it? This is one of the things that I talk about on my talks when I do the home building renovating show and style places, is how to nail your core style. And it's about how not to be a trend follower, how not to be a style sheep. So you do not want to be that person that just copies everybody else. You want to look what's inside you and find your core style and make your home reflect that. Reconnecting. Don't know what happened there. And it's the way to be in love with your house. If your house is a reflection of your core style, then that is going to be a good thing. And I made a couple of notes. Here we go. So what you need to do, and we're back to time again, is to spend some time thinking about what you actually like. So whether that is from a colour perspective, is there a colour that really brings you joy? Is there a section of the colour wheel which really makes you feel calm and tranquil, and that's how you want to feel in your house? Or are there colours that make you feel energised and full of life? And do you want your home to feel full of energy as well? So you have to think about, when it's finding your core style, is kind of look at yourself, and if you're going to use that to reflect into your home and your interior design, you look at yourself and you look back and you try and analyse that a little bit. Maybe you've had, you can have your colours done, can't you, for from a fashion perspective. And actually what I find quite interesting with a lot of clients is they have their colours done, and then they look around their house and they think, oh gosh, actually the colours that I use, the colours that I buy repeatedly in my wardrobe, I also use them around the house. The other thing is to look at textures, as you can see behind. In fact, let's just unplug 1 second. As you can see behind, I absolutely adore the texture of timbers. I mean, it brings me joy whenever I go out and I find treasure in forests or go on walks, and I've got timber everywhere. So I'm absolutely all over this. And this is something, this piece of yew, for example, I had this in a house, 15 years ago, and he has come with me to each house because this is my core style. This is me, and it doesn't matter what goes in and out of trends. This is my core style. It might not be a very good idea to show you my wardrobe, but once you've looked around my house, look at the things that I like to wear, and then you go to the house, That's what happens. That's what happens, isn't it? You look in your wardrobe, and the people say this all the time, look in your wardrobe. And actually, if you kind of reflect, when you're making these decisions of what you're going to do in this enforced period of lockdown and after, your wardrobe's a really good place. So patterns. The other thing is actually to think about is what your houses have looked like in the past. Now, I guess that if you, so I'll just sit down. I'll just 1 second. I'm just going to plug this in 1 second. Yep. If if you are 22 years old and you've moved out of your mum and dad's and you've got your first pad, then you might not have decorated a house before. However, if you are 50 and you have had 20 years moving in and out of houses, then actually, if you look back, it's really interesting. If you look back and look at houses that you've done in the past, I can look at houses that I did 20 years ago when I first started renovating. And there are things that I have done then that I still do now. I play with plasterwork, for example, and we leave, there's one house I did 15 years ago, 20 years ago even, and we had big swathes of bare brick and then plaster around it. And then you look at this, and what have I got in the hall? Bare brick. Because it's core style. It's my core style. It doesn't matter if bare brick is in at the minute or out at the minute. Those are the things that I like and I'll always like. So those are the things to try and recognise in yourself and in your own style and start writing down before you make big decisions. The other thing that we'll talk about, and I'll do probably quite a long live, is red threads. So let's have a little look at a red thread. I'm going to whiz downstairs. These red threads are the things that weave in and out of your interior design. So when you are planning a renovation, or when you're planning even, a kitchen or a living room, or designing your house, updates, what designers do, really good designers, is they have a thread which weaves through a scheme. So it could be a colour, it could be a period in history, it could be a texture, it could be a whole host of different things, but it's a thread that just runs through. I'll do a longer live on this because I've got some really cracking pictures and examples of it that other people have done. But to give you a very short idea, do you remember yesterday when we were talking about the bin store over in the corner? And if you remember, we were talking about the millboard, and I chose this millboard because it had the charred effect. So what I've done is I've used that charred effect as a red thread throughout the scheme, throughout my house. So we've got it on the front there, on the front of the box guttering. Hang on. We have also got it, so if you imagine, it doesn't matter with red threads, they weave in and out, they can go from outside to in, they can just be inside, just be outside, or both. We've got the charred wood going around the plant box inside, and I'm going to use charred wood in the kitchen. And then, look at that, the cat hairs. And then look at this. So on the reversible cushions, we've got a fabric which has got the charred effect as well. And actually, when you go upstairs, we've even taken it upstairs. So on the flooring outside the bedroom, I've done a charred effect in paint, in wood dye on the floor. So these are the 6 things really that we're going to look at, different examples, and really drill down into and look at the practical ways you can do these. So inspiration, paint, wallpaper, finding your core style, how to navigate trends, and following those red threads. And these are what we're going to focus on. And hopefully that's given you a bit of an idea, an overview of the sort of things we do here. But we're going to expand it and look at stuff that other people have done as well. And that's the way that as we are sitting in our homes and making decisions on what to do in our houses as we're on lockdown, it's the way to navigate your way to success in an interior design scheme and make those interior design decisions, is to really take that time to think about what you're doing and make conscious and determined and sensible, reasoned choices, rather than just going, oh, that's on trend, I'll do that. Or, oh, I like that colour that I've seen in the shop. It's actually to think about these things and make decisions which are impacted on by other things. Does that all make sense? I hope that makes sense. I think, and for me, the reason why this is important is because we don't know how long this is going to go on, do we? This whole corona thing. Money is going to be tight for people. Money is not there to be wasted at the minute. And we have to make good choices in the things we do. I mean, also, it's all about sustainability, isn't it? And making good choices so things aren't wasted. It's not about not having fun at all. You've seen we do lots of things where we have fun. But I know I'll still, when I do something that's fun, I know I'll still like it in 6 months or a year or in 18 months because it's me, it's my core style. I've thought about it. And I suppose for me, one of the reasons we do design talks at shows and one of the reasons we do the interior design workshops here is to try and pass that knowledge on so people make great choices for themselves and love their houses even more than they might have done already. Okay, that was a wibble on, wasn't it? Have lots of you joined in. You're so fabulous. What are you all doing? Well, I'll tell you what, I might go off the live and then do another one because I'm going to post this one. I'm going to post this one up on IGTV. And I'm going to do a little blog post, written it down. Yeah, that's what we're up to. Looks like there's nobody here as well, doesn't it? But they've all gone. Mr. Mudge has gone off for a walk with my dad. My 80-year-old dad is here at the minute. Brought him here. And Jade's upstairs working, and I'm going to go and pick them up now. We're going to have some food. I've got Rebecca out doing some work in the garden. So, we're social distancing, so Rebecca's helping me with the garden. We're going to keep 2 meters away. And I'm juggling a load of financial stuff with the bank this afternoon because we've got rental properties, and it's all a concern, isn't it? It's all yeah. So I'm juggling the same stuff that you are, and I hope you're all doing a really good job of it, and I hope you're all keeping positive. And that's that, me. Over and out for a Wow Wednesday. Bit of an overview, bit of a description about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And then we'll move on to more practical stuff next week. Take care, all of you. You're absolutely fab. Thanks for joining in. And stay in, stay safe, stay positive. That's my mantra for the corona crisis.